All right. 93, 93, 93. We back in this bitch for the year of the snake. The name of this live stream is called Either You Will Choose to Crawl on Your Belly Like a Snake, or You Will Rise to the Stars Like a Winged Serpent. This is the theme of 2025 in terms of the Chinese New Year, which basically just happened recently at the end of last month. So while we're over here in America celebrating 2025, starting January 1st, the Chinese are more in tune with the moon. Pretty much the whole Eastern hemisphere is more in tune with the moon. So their new year starts with the first full moon, which is always on a different day. It's not always the same day. And this essentially, it gives you an idea of the differences of time perception with the West versus the East. Because as we know, in the Western hemisphere, we are more acquainted with the sun. That's why we have more stagnant holidays. New Year's will always be January 1st. Christmas is always December 25th, so on and so forth, right? We have fixed numbers versus the East. If we use Ramadan as an example, when the Muslims fast for the holy month of Ramadan, it starts on a different day every year. It's not always the same day. So whenever you go to the East or study the sciences of the East, they're not fixated on essentially the sun or a particular day. They go by the energies of the moon. We can also see this in the differences in astrology when we study Western astrology versus Eastern astrology or Vedic astrology, where the Vedic takes into consideration the position of the fixed stars. Whereas Western astrology, we don't really too much deal with the fixed stars. That's not a part of, you can say, standard astrology. It's not too many Western astrologers trying to figure out what fixed star is in conjunct or has a parallel with your planets. That's more so used for mundane astrology. If a Western astrologer used it, it's more so for mundane. Mundane astrology is like political astrology. You want to know what's going on with a particular city, a particular state, or a particular country. So that's why it's called mundane astrology. The further we advanced in our levels, it becomes less and less mundane because it becomes more and more about you, because at the end of the day, you are the center of your universe. You are the god or goddess of your reality. So you at some point begin to understand the magic you have in the palm of your hands, where you are able to open up portals. You're able to change your environment. You're able to do a lot of things just by utilizing your hands, not just physically, but also magically. We already know this because we deal with house vibrations. We're dealing with tarot cards. We're dealing with whenever we need to change our situation, our circumstances. We don't wait to the next season. We don't wait for nobody to give us a break. We don't wait for nobody to have mercy upon us. We take it upon ourselves and remember who we are. When things need to change, when things need to happen, we have the ability to utilize advanced mathematics or spiritual mathematics, because every number has a particular quality. So, for example, if you're feeling kind of depressed, you're feeling kind of down and out, you start working with the number one, which is the energy of the sun. it'll raise your energy back up. If you got a little bit too much energy, you're trying to slow down, the number 2 will help you to slow down. If you're trying to expand, the number 3, Jupiter, will help you to see things in a broader view. You're trying to understand the occult, number 4, that's planet Uranus. When you want to learn essentially what people have to pay for to learn. When people have to go to medical school, when people have to go to law school, even astrology, you have to take astrology seriously to go into the advanced levels other than the basic mundane astrology. Uranus helps you to activate what we call the super conscious mind or your super consciousness. We're dealing with the mundane consciousness on a day-to-day basis, just dealing with, regular people, regular duties, work, job, monies, and all that. That's the lower ethers. But when you want to touch the higher ethers, you have to deal with Uranus. The number 5 is Mercury. So when you want to understand the lower vibrations or the lower ethers, that is the energy of Mercury. So Uranus is the higher ethers. Mercury is the lower ethers. That's why Mercury is the magician. So Mercury essentially is going down into reality to comprehend what's going on. And essentially, whenever you want to be mentally progressive, that's when you activate the number 5. When you want to advance forward in your mentalism and your thinking and because Mercury is all about thought. It's all about communication, right? But again, it deals with the lower ethers, right? So Mercury doesn't necessarily make you a better occultist, but it may make you a better day trader. It may make you a better communicator because Mercury is all about communication. So Mercury is more so dealing with the communications, the daily communications that we have to undergo. Uranus is the extraordinary communications, like communications between yourself and the stars, aka the planets, the fixed stars and the moving stars, right? So we can understand the difference between the 4 and 5, the difference between Mercury and Uranus. Then we go to the number 6, which is the number for the planet Venus, which is all about balance, equality, beauty, shape, form, aesthetics, sacred geometry for all the spiritual people, right? So Venus essentially helps you to understand shape and form, geometry, sacred geometry, and just overall how to balance those scales of Libra. That's why Venus rules over the zodiac sign of Libra. So Venus is all about harmonization. How do you harmonize your environment? How do you harmonize the systems within your body? How does everything work in harmony? How can you utilize the collective of things? That's more so dealing with the 6. Once you go to the 7, you're dealing with the number of God. You're dealing with the number of, with the energy of Neptune, the planet Neptune. That's when you go into the chaos. See, once you balance essentially your physical reality, because Venus represents, you could say, earth energy, which is balancing your physical environment. Once you have your physical environment on point, then you go to the number 7, which is dealing with your unconscious mind. That's dealing with your chaos. That's dealing with your shadow. So now you got to go within to tame your shadow. So whenever you're working with the number 7, you feel really detached, which a lot of people can already resonate with this depending on what your life path number is. So you already have a resonance with a particular number anyway. That's where the numerology comes in, and you combine it with the astrology, then combine it with the tarot, then combine it with the Kabbalah. Then you have essentially the map of the universe, so you can kind of understand what's going on right in front of you, what's going on in the distance, what's going on in the future, also what's going or what already happened in the past. So once you deal with 7 and you dig into your shadow, you dig into your unconscious, and you clear out all your karmic debt, essentially. 7 is all about clearing out your karmic debt, going into your psyche, right? You have to see what's really going on in the psyche. So instead of focusing on your thoughts in front of your brain, you focus on the thoughts in the back of your brain. All the traumas, all the bullshit, everything that's stored up in the psyche that we don't really think about on a day-to-day basis, it still lingers around. It still affects you on a daily basis, even though you're not putting mental thought to it. It still affects you in the background. So essentially, Neptune helps you to balance and figure out the background energy of your environment. number 7. Then you go into the number 8, which is the energy of Saturn, which is the heaviest planet in the solar system. That represents the corporate world. That represents what we call life, right? Oh, that's it's just life type energy, right? Because the number 8 ain't really about emotions. It's the number 8 is money over everything or survival over everything. Don't matter the cost. So whenever we're working with the number 8, you're gonna feel very detached to emotions and love. Those are not your priorities in the number 8. The number 8 is all about how can you expand essentially your multiple streams of income. How can you bring more money in because you want to essentially spend more money. Saturn is another energy of expansion, just in a way where if you want to bring in more money, it's going to give you more problems or bigger problems. As they say, more money, more problems. So the more money you make, the bigger your problems get. So now you don't just have, every now and then you may have a $200 problem, you may have a $300 problem, even a $500 problem. Car may break down, you may need a new part to your car. You may an extra bill may pop up, $100 here, 200 there, 500 there. Saturn's all about okay, you gonna have problems in the thousands. If you're already at the thousands, the tens of thousands, are you ready to handle bigger problems? In order to make more money, you have to be able to handle bigger problems. So you want to bring in more money, you have to be willing to accept the lessons from bigger problems, which then takes us to the number 9, which is the energy of Mars, which is the universal energy, meaning everything that you have learned on the previous levels all combined as one, and then you get a greater sense of your universal true will, as basically we call it, because Mars deal with your willpower, right? In 93, we understand this as the true will. That's why it's a number 9. The number 9 is now it's time for you to get in tune with your true will, not that you then knocked out everything else. So the 9 helps you to develop, well, what is my true will? What am I supposed to be doing here? Where should I be directing my energy, right? And of course, we're not going to forget about the number 0, which takes us to the energy of Pluto, which takes us essentially, that's really the energy of wealth. So once you got your money right, now can you build wealth? Because Plutos means wealth. Pluto is the god of wealth. So even though we talk about this underworld shit, Pluto is generational wealth. It represents the 8th house. How can you essentially build wealth? Not just monetary wealth, but also spiritual wealth. That's why we descend into the underworld. We're not just fully concerned with the stars. We understand that. That is a number 4. That's Uranus. That's when we begin to learn about the stars. However, the underworld exists too. The inferno planes exist as well, even though they try to keep that away. But again, that's why you have the Kabbalah, and then you have the Citra Aqua, right? Which is the dark side with the clip off. You got the tree of life, then you got the clip off. Without the clip off, there would be no tree of life. So the clip off is the power that projects what we see as the tree of life or the Kabbalah, which is like more positive. So anything we see positive, at the bottom of that, you can say is negativity. That needs to be balanced. The chaos needs to be orderly. That's why every night, if we go into Egyptian mythology, when Ra goes into the underworld every night, who does he have with him, protecting him from the chaos that we call Apep? Apep just represents chaos and discord without order. So you got chaos that's orderly, which is basically Set. Ra takes Set on his journey into the underworld in order to balance that disorderly chaos. Set, again, if we look at Set in the mainstream, Set is just known to kill Osiris. His brother cut his body up into pieces, put him in the coffin, sent him down the Nile River. Then Isis had to come collect the body parts. She couldn't find the phallus, so she had to essentially seduce Ra to get his power of resurrection so he can be resurrected long enough to give his energy into the new vessel that we call Horus or Haru. So in the mainstream, that's really all we hear about Set is his dealings with Osiris. However, if we go into the old way or the old kingdom, all of the attributes that are attached to Osiris or Asar are actually attached to Set. So essentially, his principles got split into two different deities instead of a singular deity. So that's why the original story of Set, before he became the rival of Horus, he represented the protector of Ra when Ra descended into the underworld. So he was the one that kept Apap in the chaos and the discord. So it wasn't Ra that was fighting Apep, it was Set. So when you make Set the villain, it makes people less willing to really take on those attributes or work with the darker energies. So that's why, a lot of people feel some type of way working with demons or, darker energies, whatever pantheon they may be dealing with. They don't. It's easier to work with angels, and for some people, it's easier to work with demons. They may naturally feel a connection with Set. They may naturally feel a connection with Baphomet. So for those people, they just have to get and build a connection with the archangels or the angels. Whatever you are naturally in tune with is for you to forge a relationship with the opposite side. That's what makes you complete. So that's why Pluto represents the underworld. Because if we remove Pluto from the equation, you could do all that from 1 to 9 without, even descending into the underworld. But once you invoke the energy of the zero, you invoke the energy of Pluto or Hades, and then you begin to descend into your own shadow nature, because we all have an inner killer that we call the killer instinct. We all have this, meaning you will kill if you have to. Not that you're waking up thinking about this stuff, but there's a part of you that has the power to take life if it came to that. So in order to protect and defend your own life or the life of your loved ones, we all have that sector or that aspect in our psyche that we normally, essentially, it doesn't come out until you end up in a situation where it has to come out. The whole purpose of working with the underworld or descending into the underworld is for you to understand that energy without it having to be invoked by some outside circumstance. So you can become more comfortable with your shadow. You can be more comfortable with your unconscious. You can be more comfortable with your demons because you can deal with these energies in a controlled fashion. Because when it comes out externally, it can be uncontrolled. And that's when bad things happen, when people basically snap because it's in an uncontrolled environment because you wasn't expecting it. But the only reason you wasn't expecting it because you're not familiar with these aspects that already exist within you. So we descend into the underworld to know ourselves fully and to essentially forge and create artificial environments for us to test out exactly who and what we are. That's why we have the ability to dream. Because most of the time when we dream, it's not your ego that's dreaming, it's your shadow that's dreaming. So you are essentially going on a journey with your shadow. You're going on a journey with a part of you that is less familiar to you. Remember, when you sleep, your ego is asleep. So that part of you that's like, the ego obviously is artificial. The ego is a manifestation of what we have forged or created to survive in this world. What to be professionally accepted and to do business and to not appear as a weirdo or a creep and things like that, right? Once you deal with the shadow, you're more comfortable with these energies, so you can invoke them in a controllable fashion so that it doesn't go overboard. Because the whole purpose is to integrate the shadow with the ego, not for them to remain separate. It's for them to be merged as one. This is why we are in the year of the snake or the year of the serpent, depending on how people manifest their energy. So you're going to see both sides. You're going to see real snake-like activity. You're going to see real snakes doing snake shit, which is basically crawling on your belly means you are a slave to your cravings. That's basically what crawling on your belly represents. You are a slave to your cravings. So if your craving is sex, if it's food, if it's comfort, whatever your cravings may be, you become a slave to that because that's what you seek out on a daily basis, right? So some people on a daily basis seek out certain things or certain experiences not knowing that it starts within first. Because once you stabilize that energy within and it's integrated into the ego, you don't have to move like this, slithering like a snake at the lowest, you could say, dimensions of the earth. You don't have to move like that. You only have to move like that when you're trying to be sneaky. A snake essentially has to be sneaky. They are who they are, but they understand that who they are is not accepted, so they have to do essentially their dirt in the dark. So these are the people that do their dirt in the dark. Then there's people who do their dirt in the light, right? It's a difference. That's the winged serpent. So it's not that the winged serpent is perfect. It's not that the winged serpent is, something that is free or void of negativity. It's just that the negativity can be presented in a controllable fashion. And that's essentially what art is. Art is controllable chaos. Art is our ability to manifest several dimensions of our psyche, or the more darker elements of our psyche, and put it into the world. So essentially, we create a path or a portal to our darker nature, to our darker aspects. We are able to do that. So, which is what we're supposed to be doing, especially if you consider yourself an artist. And by artist, I don't necessarily mean somebody who draws. You may be into calligraphy. Your art may be more, it may even be on technology, right? You may prefer AI art if you're not a person who wants to sit and draw, or you may prefer drawing. You may prefer the traditional route, or you may prefer the modern route. Regardless of the case, the shadow must be integrated in some form or fashion into the ego, which makes you holistic, balancing your scales of Libra, right? Because again, we tend to get caught up in these zodiac signs as if we are this or that, but we are all 12, and some people consider 13 zodiac signs. We all have Aries within us. We all have Taurus within us. Your Aries represents your competitive energy, your willpower, your ability to command your own life. It ain't even really about commanding nobody else, because normally they say Aries are leaders and they know how to give direction, but more so, how do you command your own systems, your own reality, your ability to command yourself, to invoke your own magical abilities? That's the energy of Aries. Then you have Taurus. Can you stabilize the energy that you just invoked? Because the energy can be invoked and it can be very crazy. It can come off brash, right? Taurus helps you to stabilize the energy that you invoke. Because you could say the energy of Aries is very raw. This is just raw, pure energy. So in order to give it some type of sophistication, to give it some type of eloquence, we gotta go through Taurus, because Taurus is ruled by Venus. So Venus is all about beauty, beautifying things, harmonizing things. So Taurus is harmonizing the energy that has been invoked by Aries. Once that energy is harmonized, then we go into Gemini. Gemini represents the Lover's card in the tarot, which we see the dark side and we see the light side, and we see one being in the middle. So now the two has become one. So for a lot of people, when they look at the lovers, they think about actual lovers, a man and a woman, or a man, woman, however people choose to do it. They think about the love, or basically conditional love, which is basically what relationships are, is conditional. I love you up until a point. If you do this, it's over with. It's conditional. The lovers actually represents unconditional love, because do you have unconditional love for yourself? Because fuck anybody else. You don't have to have unconditional love for anybody else, but you have to have unconditional love for yourself. Some people may love their children unconditionally. Some people may love their siblings, their parents, or even their friends unconditionally. But do you love yourself unconditionally, to be able to expose yourself to your shadow side or your angelic side if you're already familiar with your shadow side? Can you expose yourself to your angelic side and then accept it fully? Not halfway, not 25%. Can you fully accept the shadow and the ego, or the angel and the demon. That's Gemini, which then takes us to Cancer. Cancer represents a cardinal water energy. Cancer is, can you harmonize your emotions? Because we know a lot of people are super emotional, especially if somebody say the wrong shit. Like, some people can't even drive to fucking work without being emotional because of what other drivers are doing, what we call road rage. Some people are impatient, and they go through it every morning, right? They can't even get to their destination without and somebody doing something stupid and invoking their emotion. Cancer showed you how to, like, you ain't even worried about that. It can be crazy shit going on right in front of you, but you are in control of your emotions. You're not going to be reactionary, because the moon rules over Cancer, and the moon represents your reactions. You are not here to be reactionary, because if you are able to calm yourself and control yourself, you are able to transmute the emotional energy. So you may be feeling fucked up, you may be feeling some type of way. Do you have the ability to transmute your emotions so that you can get back on point? You may have had an argument with somebody, some shit may have happened, now your energy is off. Can you bring yourself back? Or are you strong enough to, what do they call it? They call it nowadays, they call it emotional intelligence. That's a modern word they're using for this now. But as we see, our ancestors already dealt with all this, right? We already broke this thing down the same way I'm breaking it down now. You see, I'm not basing this off of a book or anything. This is just, when you live this shit, you live this shit. You can see it in everything, right? So, emotional intelligence. Then you go to Leo. Leo, the lion. Leo represents the Hebrew letter Teth, which is a serpent. When you look at the symbol of Leo, it looks like a rising serpent, an aroused serpent ready to attack. And that's why Leo represents the lust card. Are you able to control your lust? And not just lust for another human being, but lust for anything. So lust is, you can have a lust for anything. Do you understand your lust? Can you control your lust? Because that's the energy of fire. Lust is very powerful, right? Lust can destroy whole families. It can destroy friendships. Lust can destroy a lot of shit, but do you know how to build with lust? Can your lust build instead of destroy? Because everything is dualistic, right? We learned that in Gemini. Gemini shows us the dualism of everything. So even though something may be naturally destructive, you still have the ability to transmute it as an alchemist and put it on the correct path. Can you control your lust, which then takes you to 6, which takes you to Virgo. Virgo represents health, self-improvement, your ability to descend into those 9 levels of the inferno. Virgo, Virgil, who is the gatekeeper of the 9 stages of hell, which is, again, just represents stages of the psyche. Because in mythology, it's like, okay, certain people go to certain levels of hell. The traders go to the darkest level. People who just did like little minor shit, they go to more upper levels. But if we take it out of metaphor and we apply it to, okay, this is just talking about your psyche, meaning your shadow has levels to it. Do you have the mental fortitude to truly comprehend the darkness of your shadow? Because there's levels to it. Certain people only want to see certain levels. Can you see those 9 levels clearly? Transmute that energy and be able to pull it into your reality in a controlled fashion. And again, that's why the Virgo represents your finger, your ability to, your hand, scribe. You can change your energy by scribing. You can change your energy by drawing. You can change your energy by manipulating the subtle energies of the universe. Again, we are the gods and goddesses of our reality. That means if you are the center of your universe, fuck anybody else's universe. If you are the center of your universe, like we were saying in the beginning, you should be able to manipulate your reality with your hands. That takes us to Virgo. What's next? Libra. Libra represents your heart being lighter than a feather. Did you accomplish your purpose in life? Libra is like, okay, I know I got bills to pay. I know I have a family. I know I have this. I know I have these responsibilities. Libra represents your worldly responsibilities, but you have to balance it with your soul's responsibilities. You know what I mean? Is your soul fulfilled? Because if you die just providing for everybody else and you didn't fulfill your purpose, you're going to have to fucking resurrect. Because, like, yo, what did you do for you? You can do for others, but did you do for you? Did you fulfill your purpose so that you are internally fulfilled and externally fulfilled? It's one thing just to be externally fulfilled. You can look around you when there's love and there's beauty. You feel complete, but is your soul, because again, we got the spirit, we got the soul. You can satisfy the spirit, right? We got spirits all over. There's spirits in here. Spirits is in here, right? We can satisfy these spirits, but can you satisfy the soul, right? Can you decorate that skull? That's why they decorate the skulls, meaning death is not the end. So if your soul feels incomplete, you got to do another round of this shit, right? Which I'm not saying is a bad thing. But Libra represents your heart has to be lighter than a feather. You must die with no regrets. When your death comes, you are supposed to die with no regrets, smiling at death. Oh, death is here. I'm smiling. I'm ready. I have lived my life fully. I have fulfilled my soul's purpose. When you go through death, the doors of death with that mentality, that makes you immortal. Your soul doesn't die because you understood why you were really here in the first place. You didn't get distracted by the mundane bullshit. It's all a distraction, right? Everybody can say we're in the matrix, we in the matrix. Well, if we're really in the matrix, you have to exist outside of the matrix, which is where your soul exists, and then bring your soul into this reality. Your soul must fight to be here. Your soul is not just welcomed here. Your soul is not welcome here. You have to learn how to integrate your soul into this physical reality, and that is a battle. You don't get to just fulfill your purpose because you want to. You got to battle for that shit. You have to become a master of your craft. You got to put in those 10,000 hours, which then takes us to Scorpio, the eighth sign. So once we have an understanding of the soul, how the spirit and the soul must be balanced, then we go into the energy of Scorpio, which represents our ability to alchemize, because Scorpio is a fixed water. We talked about Cancer already. We talked about emotional intelligence. Now we're talking about Scorpio. Now that you have emotional intelligence where your emotions are stabilized, now can you invoke those emotions, stir those emotions up with an energy that you choose now? Because you have to have stability in your emotions in order to invoke a certain type of emotion. Meaning, can you feel how you want to feel instead of how the world wants you to feel based on your circumstances? Can you supersede your circumstances in order to channel energy that you're trying to bring forth into this world? That's the energy of Scorpio. It's transmutation, circulation of it, of basically sexual serpent energy. That's the serpent energy, right? Are you comfortable with your sexuality? Can you use your sexual force to transform your reality? Because that's what it's for. It's not just for procreation or recreation. Some people are just out here fucking just to be fucking. They don't have nothing else to do. Some people are just, having children because that's just what they feel they're supposed to do. We can do a lot of things with our sexual currency. That's basically what 93 is. 93 is all about how do you manipulate your sexual currency, because it is a currency. It is a form of money. That's why it's called currency. Can you enrich yourself with your sexual currency? Again, we ain't talking about nobody else. Can you enrich yourself? Can you transmute your emotional energy to be in a position you wanted to be in versus however it's supposed to be based on what's going on around you, right? Which then takes us to Sagittarius. Can you see things before they happen? Can you visualize? Can you set yourself mentally in a place that you haven't been physically yet? and then build a reality around that. This is what we call the astral temple. You may be in your city. Can you project yourself into a whole nother city and then live out a life in a whole nother city, straight mental, and you're doing that consistently? It may not be another city, let's just say. It may be the astral plane, it may be the dreams, it may be a place you saw in your dreams you want to be able to build a connection or a bridge to that particular reality. Can you build a bridge into astral realities? Because we're not just physical, right? Where if this is a matrix, you can transcend the matrix, but you got to go through the astral plane. You have to have control of your astral dynamics. Can you build a bridge from the physical to the spiritual? That's the energy of Sagittarius. That's why Sagittarius is the philosopher. That's philosophy. That's theurgy. You know what I mean? That's the study of God, the goddesses, deities, all that, because it is all us. Every deity is an aspect of you. We all, again, this is a blueprint of the mind. We documented the mind via spirituality. That's why we have deities. So we're never worshiping deities. You're just simply invoking the energy that already exists within you. You just need a key code. Deities represents a key code in order for you to access energies that are dormant within you. They don't come alive until you come alive. Basically, you have to stimulate the gray matter in your brain in order to invoke these energies. And gray matter is not stimulated by everyday mundane tasks, just living and dying. You can go your whole life without ever invoking your gray matter. That is spiritual. You have to purposefully invoke this energy. It ain't just gonna happen to you. You have to make a purposeful intent to invoke this energy. That's the energy of Sagittarius. Can you see beyond your immediate environment? Then we go into Capricorn. That's the energy of the devil. Can you accept that you're not just all good? See, a lot of people like to consider themselves a good person. You're not good. Because everybody got demons. Everybody has a dark side. So by saying you're good, you're not acknowledging yourself in full. Because there's a part of you that's not good. There's a part of you that can fuck some shit up. There's a part of you, again, that can kill, that can do some destruction, that can do damage. That's you too. You're not just the angel, you're also the demon. So to consider yourself good, that's incomplete. Or to even consider yourself bad is incomplete, because you're not just all bad, you're not all good either. So either one is like, you're not acknowledging the other side. So I don't go around considering myself a good person. I'm like, nah, I got the same demons that everybody else got. Maybe configured a little differently, but I'm no better than the next person. I got to do work on myself like everybody else. I'm not an exception, right? I am not an exception. I have to work on my darkness, because it will get out of control if I don't. Like for anybody else, if they don't work out on it, it will lose its direction. You must maintain direction with your shadow. Even your ego, because your ego can be blinded to what it think it is. You may think that you are the personality, but you're not. Your ego may fool you to think that you are less than you actually are. Do not allow your ego to make you believe that you are less than you actually are. Expand yourself beyond the ego, integrate with the shadow. Capricorn, the devil is, so you're not this guy, you're the devil too. That's basically what it is. You ain't this God, you the devil too, right? So this whole battle versus God, the devil, is a battle for you. Because the devil ain't all bad, God is not all good. You got the Kabbalah, you got the Citra Aqua. The devil rules the Citra Aqua, God rules the Kabbalah. So if you need to master both, you have to deal with God, have a relationship with God, but also have a relationship with the devil. So why everybody trying to banish the devil? It's like, all right, well, you think they're going to ever study the Citra Aqua? Do you ever think people are going to study the Citra Aqua when in religion they are taught to banish negative energy? Negative energy isn't necessarily bad. It's just a different form of energy. Can you invoke your negative energy? Can you become your own devil and then do it in a controlled fashion to the point where you are bringing out aspects that are dormant within you, but that may be essential to you fulfilling your life purpose? In order to fulfill your life purpose, you have to invoke your God and your devil. It can't be one or the other. You have to be holistic, which then takes us to the 11th sign, the energy of Aquarius. The energy of Aquarius is the rebel. right? The one who was able to see beyond the traditional, who was able to see beyond energies that have already been set in place. Basically, the one who is able to forge their own path. Your path may not exist yet. You may have to walk a path that nobody else walked yet. And you can't. You may not be able to look out into the world and see who you want to be. You may not see yourself in any of these so-called role models or influencers, because the path for you is a path less walked, because you're actually putting in a real work. You're not afraid to descend into the halls of a Amenti and be an immortal and meet the real gods and the real goddesses and have those conversations and have those transactions, spiritual transactions, soul transactions. Because you understand that this is all bullshit any goddamn way. I'm supposed to be making spiritual and soulful transactions, not just this mundane shit. Money comes in, money goes out, right? Which then takes us to the last sign of Pisces, the 12th sign. Once you understand that, okay, I have to be an independent thinker. I have to go beyond the traditional. I can't look at how the world is and be able to say, okay, I'm that or I'm this or I should be going this way, that way. No, the way you're supposed to be going is following your inner direction, your inner vision, which then takes you to Pisces. Pisces represents the energy of Anubis and the energy of Set. When you look at the moon card, you're going to see Anubis, and you're going to also see Set. Those are, you can say, lords of the underworld. They're just showing you two different aspects. We talked about Set earlier as a guardian of Ra as he descends into the underworld and fights off Apep. But then when we deal with Anubis, Anubis is a child of Nethys and Osiris. Nethys disguised herself as Isis, which is the who was the wife of Osiris. But they were twins. Nethys and Isis were twins, so she was able to disguise herself as her sister. So Osiris think he fucking his woman, but he's fucking his woman's sister. But she gave him what? Wine. Because Osiris is a god of wine. She know he loves wine, so she put the wine, so he wasn't able to really detect the differences in personality. Because they look the same, but they may have a different personality. But you know, when you're under the influence, you're probably not thinking about all that. So it went down, and that caused the birth of Anubis, which is why Anubis stepped to the side once Osiris descended into the underworld. Osiris became the lord of the underworld. Who was the lord of the underworld first? Anubis. That's why Anubis represents the funerary rites, basically sending the dead off properly. That's an aspect of us too, because we all deal with death. We all deal with the ancestors. Do you give them a proper send off? Do you give them proper prayers? Do you make sure that they're good in the underworld as they are going through their journeys? Right? That's why we make altars, ancestral offerings, altars. That's just us thinking like, okay, I'm gonna make sure they're good because I know that energy is reciprocated. They gonna make sure I'm straight because I'm making sure they're straight. Because death is not the end. Because there would be no lord of the underworld if death was the end. That's why these mythologies are showing us there's more than it appears. But this is something you have to invoke. You're not just gonna go through life and life shows you none of this shit. Life ain't trying to show you a goddamn thing. This matrix ain't trying to show you a goddamn thing. If anything, it's trying to mislead you to believe that this shit ain't real. So it has to be something within you that's strong enough to transcend the pools of the matrix to say, okay, I am all 12 signs. I don't need to be strictly caught up in my personal zodiac sign. I need to master all of these zodiacs. We talked about the 12. Let's talk about the 13th zodiac, which is Ophiuchus. What is Ophiuchus? The serpent bearer. That's why I'm talking about Ophiuchus. It's the year of the snake, year of the serpent. And the energy you should be working with then is Ophiuchus, who was the serpent bearer. The symbol of Ophiuchus is a man holding a serpent above his head, meaning he has control of this serpentine force. He is in control of his sexuality. He is in control of the mysteries of the serpent. Because the serpent also represents wisdom. Before Christ, before you had this dead man hanging from a cross, you had a serpent. Christ took on the energy of the serpent. The Gnostics, the early Christians, they did not worship a dead man on the cross. They put the serpent on the cross. That was the original sign. They just transferred it when Christianity became mainstream. They're like, okay, we can't go around having a snake on the cross. We're going to put Christ on the cross. We're going to put this creation of Christ, not a real man, but a real spirit within all of us. We all have the Christ consciousness. We have a real spirit. It's not a real man. But that serpent on the cross takes you to deeper mysteries, as we see. It's like, okay, it's time for you to tap into the serpentine mysteries, the mysteries of the serpent. The winged serpent was able to expand their consciousness to the stars as well as the inferno. That's why when you see the serpent biting its own tail, that represents completion. So whenever the serpent wants to go outside of itself, it has to drink its own blood. What do you think will happen when you drink your own blood? I'm not telling you you need to cut yourself and drink your own blood, but it will give you a psychedelic experience because of the chemicals that are exclusive to you. Like your blood is not like anybody else's blood. Your blood is exclusive to you. So if you were to drink your blood, we're not talking about anybody else's. We're not talking about Dracula going around biting bitches on the neck. We're talking about your own blood, your own DNA. When you invest in you doing this with your own DNA, that's going to hit you different than you're doing it with somebody else's DNA. Right? Are you able to utilize or transform your own DNA codes? That's what that represents. I am able to transform my own DNA codes because snakes are not supposed to have wings. So why do we see this symbol of a winged serpent? That's something that will have to require a DNA change, a manipulation that's unnatural. So while everybody's trying to be natural, the real goal is to be unnatural. You want unnatural things to happen. That's what magic is. Magic is not natural. Magic is not traditional. Right? Magic is not natural. Magic is not traditional. So you need some untraditional energies in your life. That's why you would be a magician in the first place. That's why you would be involved in the occult in the first place. If you just wanted things to progress naturally, like a tree grows naturally up out of the earth, then there would be no need for magic. You don't need to have magic to grow a tree. You don't need magic to farm. You don't need magic to get a job. You don't need magic to make money. You don't need magic to do anything mundane. What you do need magic for is to do all this spiritual and soulful activity. That's what you need the magic for. You need magic for the real shit. You don't need magic for the fake shit. You need it for the real shit while we're really here. And when you're doing that real work, putting in that real work, like, oh, this is why you need to do what you do. Because you're not getting caught up with the illusion that we call the matrix. You must transcend it. Ophiuchus, you must be able to bear your own serpentine force, your own chaos. You can say Ophiuchus represents that snake, or that serpent represents Apep. If Apep is all about chaos and destruction and discord, then you have the man grasping the serpent with both hands. That's me. I am in control of my own chaos, my own destruction, my own transformation, my own sexual currency. I am in control of these things. These things don't control me. I don't get distracted by a beautiful woman and I don't know what to do. My mind turns into mush. Or I don't see a beautiful man and I just become something else. You're like, no, I know exactly how to handle any given situation to the point where I don't move like I'm a beast, like I'm an animal. I don't even move like a human. That's what you're thinking to yourself. I don't move like a human. I don't move like an animal. I move like a spiritual being. I'm in a physical vessel, but I am not the vessel that I occupy. Once this vessel is gone, I still exist, and I can transform or transforms. I can trade forms, bodies, and all that. We're able to do all this shit. Why? That's what makes us gods and goddesses. We're able to do things that are viewed as magical, which is just advanced mathematics. So our goal and our duty here is to advance our mathematics, because once you become more and more advanced, it becomes magical. That's why you start with numerology, you start with astrology, you start with tarot, and once these things become natural to you, you are able to see these dynamics in all things. Now you're like, oh, this is magical. Numbers are not just to add and subtract and divide and multiply. I can change my whole reality with numbers. I can change my whole reality with words or letters. Numbers and letters are not what they appear to be. They can be used for magical purposes once you understand what they're doing and what you're really doing. In the palm of your hand, you have the ability to change all things. You're not ever stuck. There's a lot of people that just feel stuck in whatever position they may be in because they don't acknowledge their own power. That's why a lot of people are religious. People have to be religious because you got to go beyond the mundane in order to get some type of relief. So religion is people's relief when they know nothing else. So that's basically the default, right? That's the default. We have to be non-traditional. We have to go beyond the default. Our life has to be customized. You have to customize your life because your ability as a god or a goddess is to create. You are able to customize, right? So that's why I'm always showing custom shit, right? It's all customization, right? So me wearing my own designs, that's just what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be putting our energy into the world, pushing it out and putting it into the world. And it ain't about whether the world accepts it or not. It's about, do you accept it or not? Do you accept your shadow? And can you wear it on your chest? Or can you wear it on your eyes? Can you wear it in your jewelry? Whatever it is that you're into. Can you put your shadow and integrate it with the ego? Right? And as you see, this is parsley. Right? Parsley represents death and resurrection. That's what the symbol represents, right? So, of course, in the year of the serpent and the year of the snake. That's why I said either you're going to be crawling on your belly, meaning it's going to be an energy that's going to make people crawl on their belly. You're going to see it. If you're paying attention, you're going to see a lot of people on belly time. They crawling trying to do real sneaky shit. You don't have to be on that time. You can be on the time of the winged serpent. Transcending into the stars as well as the underworld and seeing yourself holistically and accept it. Live and die as a spiritual, soulful being, balancing those scales of Libra, along with all the other attributes. 12 plus 1 gives you the 13. That's why the 13th degree, Ophiuchus, be the serpent bearer. So that's why they took that degree out of the Zodiac. Western astrologers don't even acknowledge Ophiuchus because that's the mystery. That's the 13th. They don't like the number 13. The number 13 is an unlucky number in the West, but it's a lucky number in the East. So you decide if it's unlucky or lucky to you. But that's why people are like, oh, we don't want no 13 floors. We don't want no 13 nothing. But the Ophiuchus is actually the secret weapon. What's the 13th degree of the major arcana? The death card. Right? That's something that most people just on the surface, they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to just deal with the energy of death. Like, how would that benefit you until they see it holistically? Death is also the beginning of resurrection. You have to die to be reborn. And every day we die when we go to sleep and we are reborn in the morning. And you have the ability to push your shadow out into the world, which is what we're supposed to be doing anyway. Not all of the dumbass shit, right? So that's why we have to be saints as well as sinners, basically. Your life should be saintly, sinful. You are a sinful saint, which is essentially what a real fucking saint is. Nobody became a saint because they just lived a sin-free life. Most saints made a sacrifice. They were martyrs. They died for a cause. That's what made a saint. They died for a cause, not necessarily because they were perfect. These people had problems like everybody else, but their willpower, their true will was stronger than any of the other bullshit. So they put their life on the line for a greater cause. But they were still sinners. They were still sinning the fuck out of everything like everybody else, right? But they were saintly because they tapped into their true will and understood, I have to die for this in order for this to continue. Which they were right. That's how people become saints. Which is a hard pill to swallow. Like, damn, I got to give my life up for me to fulfill my mission. Fuck it, then we're going to die anyway. So you have to be a sinful saint. Meaning you sin for a reason. So even your sins are holy. You are a holy sinner. That's the difference. Some people sin just to sin. When your sins have intent, when they are purposeful, when they are magically invoked, now we're dealing with a whole different energy. And that's basically just a lesson of the day. That's a lesson of the year. Take it or leave it. But, we're going to celebrate life the same way we celebrate death. We don't prefer one over the other. And that's the whole energy of 93. When you read the book of the law, it's telling you about death. If you only knew the pleasures of death, Not just a physical death, but a mental death. Do you know the pleasure of mentally dying, your old form, dying away so that you can take on and embrace new experiences? The only way for us to embrace and have new experiences, we have to have a new mental direction. Our mental direction, our spiritual direction, our soulful direction has to be moving forward or backward, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. You can go back in time like a historian, or you can go ahead of time like a futurist and bring the past and the present together in the moment and then discover new possibilities, new correspondences. We are here to discover new correspondences all the time, not just rely on what the ancestors did or what has already been. We need to keep the principles intact, but then show the new way, which is basically all I do. I'm like, let me take this old occult knowledge and then update it so that we can understand it in today's times in the 21st century, which is what we're supposed to be doing. So the ancestors left the jewels for us to pick up and then modify to fit our particular circumstances and then benefit from the game that they already discovered. So it's not that we're discovering anything new. We just have to take the old and bring it into the new, take the old and bring into the future, and then customize it and design it to fit the type of lifestyle you choose to live based on your soul and your spiritual direction, whatever that may be. No good, no bad, no right, no wrong, but you in full acceptance of your demons and your angels, the holy sinner. And with that I bear peace. 93. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law.